the campaigns. Donald Trump had said that the elections are too big to rig. And when he was asked, when experts did speak about this, they had said that Donald Trump, of course, and his followers, had alleged that the previous elections was rigged. And he thinks that this one is too big to be rigged. And experts have said that Trump will try every single thing to ensure that he subverts this election. And should it not go his way, my question would be, should we expect any form of insurrection, should in case this election doesn't go Donald Trump's way? After all, he said it's too big to rig. And if we take a look at the results so far, he's leading by 198 to 112.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to be very candid. America is a state of violence. My professor will agree. Me, even if you give $2 million to settle in America, I wouldn't go. The doctrine of American democracy is based on violence. There is something very, very worrying for me that I always see, I've analyzed. Like people like Trump. Harris might not be the person. Even you look at Obama from a humble beginning, became very wild and came to finish Gaddafi. No, some of us are not very, very pleased. He comes from our place in East Africa, but he left us with nothing, with tears of seeing Libya like the way it looks. I'm a Pan-African and a global diaspora man, not very pleased. So the doctrine of rigging, the doctrine of contentious issues like influence from external influence from Russia, external influence, whatever, there are worries beginning to come up. There are people, you can see the disinformation that went on, counting. These are all pointers of violence. These are all pointers that tell you people are going to say no if this was rigged. Because now the most expensive thing that, or the most common denominator is that Russia or Iran has come because of the wave that the Middle East. So there is that. There are signs coming up. There are signs showing that if this doesn't go, if it to the Democrats, yes, Mr. Trump will say this one. And remember, in these elections, anybody will tell you two bullets missed Mr. Trump. 2 bullets, attempted assassination. That's very bad. That's why I've told you that America is violent. Look at somebody. Nobody has told us who wanted to finish Mr. Trump. They haven't. If it was Africa, that country and put under sanctions. Me, I'm speaking from a Pan-African view, point of view of international relations. And I just want my two brother and sister, don't tell your child to study international relations, because it is not there. It doesn't exist. These people don't exist. They exist when there are interests, but there is no relationship there. For me, the American politics is full of violence and full of that we are seeing the line coming up slowly. If Trump wins, okay, things might be very, very, very good. Which I believe, the way you are looking at the map, even if people have not, if you are out on 91 and somebody is coming to 210, my God, it might be a long day, a long night for the counting to finish. You might just get depressed. So for me, if this should not be the type of things that we hear from a country that has got nuclear weapons, that has gone to, it is practicing to look for where God is, because when they go up, they don't tell us what they have gone to do. They keep it to themselves. Doesn't help us. So for me, these are very bad signs of an election. The point before I land is look at the the states, the queue, the longer queues that your correspondent from America has said. It is more or less like an African elections, you know. Then why do we have this type of presidential? I am opposed. I don't know what the professor would say. I am opposed to an African state having a presidential style of elections. Too expensive. It's our money. It takes everything out of us. Prof, I think time has come to talk about the presidential type of election. And let's help Africa. We have very little money. Why do we spend on this awkward thing of called presidential elections? Why don't we sit back and the South African model? Look, nobody quarrels in South Africa. Nobody quarrels in Botswana. Nobody. Because with the parliamentary system, how many MPs you have, you win. But look at the expensive. The one in America is more complicated. The professor maybe he has got America behind him. Me, I'm not very impressed.
Okay.
All right. And explain about those things. But violence definitely has an undertone in this election. If things don't go well, they will be accusing us at each other.
All right. Now, we understand that you need that a candidate needs 270 electoral votes to win. So far, so good. From the stats I'm looking at, Trump is now at 47,696,214 votes at 52.5%, while Kamala Harris is at 42,105,759% votes at 46.3%. And looking at the swing states now, you see that the 10 swing states that we have is Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Florida, Ohio, and Texas. And out of the 10 states, about 6 of them have been announced as Trump's stronghold, from Georgia to Arizona, Florida, Ohio, and Texas. So far, so good. And as well as North Carolina, he is won the state and is leading. And so let me ask you, Professor, and ask, with all of these 10 states that we've now seen the majority leaning to Trump, is there a chance for Harris with the swing states?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just a bit of correction, and I'm sure you can go back and check, but I do have this on record, though. Florida and Ohio and Texas are no longer swing states. In fact, they're not swing states. Texas is not a swing state. It's a reliably red state. That's the home of George Bush, a very conservative state. That's Texas, I mean. Florida used to be a swing state back in the day, but it's tilted red over time. The same goes for Ohio. Used to be swing, but it's no more swing. They've voted reliably red over time. But I do still think that we have to wait it out, because elections haven't come in for states like California. That's the state with the biggest electoral college votes, about 54, I believe.
Yes.
We haven't heard from Washington State. We have not heard from Oregon, for instance. We have not heard from New Hampshire, for instance. And these are not even swing states. These are blue states. So I still do think that it's still early days, and we are yet to even hear from the swing states, not the 10 but 7, because what we have so far is just projection. So it's just not a huge percentage of the states report. If you look at them, some are at 35, some are at 41, 42. Pennsylvania currently, I think it's about 51% of the precincts reporting right now. If you look at Georgia, they have it at, I think, about 66% of them reporting right now. Trump is ahead over there. You also have to look at where the votes are coming in from. If they're coming from a lot of the suburbs and the rural areas, then yes, Donald Trump is going to be leading. But if we are yet to hear from the big cities, which normally take a long time to count. Okay, look at Michigan. Michigan is at only 27% reporting. You know, so we cannot really say much with those figures. The big cities take a long time to collate their votes. They take a long time to report. We cannot say much as far as that is concerned. Also, don't forget that in a state like Georgia, they have over 333,000 mail-in ballots coming. there's also a huge percentage of absentee ballots coming in and early votes that have come in, which have not been counted. When you look at Virginia, they have about 75% of the state reporting. Kamala Harris is up at 49.9%, and Trump is at 48.3%. When I checked Virginia the last time, it was Trump who was winning. Now Virginia has come, a lot more states, a lot more counties are reporting, and Kamala is leading. So they've even reported New Mexico, which is reliably blue. So I'll be reading this with a lot of caution. Especially because if you look at the last elections, if you take Arizona, for instance, Joe Biden won Arizona by less than 1 percentage point. It was 0.04. That was the margin, razor-thin margin. If you look at the other swing states, even in Pennsylvania, Hillary during 2016, 2020, very, very razor-thin. Look at Georgia. Georgia was 0.04. You look at Michigan in 2016, it was 0.03 or 0.02. Less than a percentage point. That is how close it is, separated by very, very, very close margins. So I do still think it's early days yet to read any meaning into it. But if you would give me a second to talk about violence, I don't know. But to the extent that Donald Trump is a candidate in this particular election, his rhetoric, right, has been characterized by a lot of extremist language, a lot of violent rhetoric, a lot of fear-mongering going on there, a lot of labeling, a lot of misogyny going on over there by Donald Trump. And that has characterized a lot of his rhetoric and his political communication. Some scholars have even found that there has been an uptick in hate crimes in the U.S. Anytime that Donald Trump's rhetoric went up or was violent. And so yes, this has been a very, very different election because of the extent to which candidates like Donald Trump have gone to inject a lot of extremist language and rhetoric in the presidential campaign. We don't know the effects that it will have, whether people have bought into it. We can only wait till the election night goes much, much deeper into the morning and maybe a couple of days to see whether how far this worked in this election.
Dr. Matsanga, I could see your reaction while Professor was speaking. Do you have a different viewpoint as regards what he said about the states and, of course, the other points that he's made?
I'm also, apart from political science, I'm a conflict resolution expert. I watch the triggers of conflict. Where does it come from? It's not rhetoric. Prof, it's not. An assassination attempt on a former president. 2 bullets. 2 bullets is not rhetoric. Who wanted to kill him? Do you know? Who wanted to assassinate Trump? Why the FBI have not come with the report? Why? Why? And if you look at the situation further, the type of African, of third world type of politics of where you go for your because you have seen him surge ahead and do something about him, put a corruption charge on him, he claimed and the other gentleman in Zambia. You see, look at Zimbabwe, how the people are pulled, opposition leaders. That thing is violence. There is something, it's not right anymore. And Trump is not the one causing it. The state, the deep state, we have deep state and the darker state. In America, those state political science do exist. Because I have specialized in agents like CIA, Mossad, KGB. You read about the deep state. Who was going to kill Trump? And therefore, you can't say Trump is trick on no, someone wanted to finish this guy. And that type of politics is growing and growing. Is it the people not want him to stand? You look at the charges they trumped on him. Trump was trumped with charges of touching the skirt or this or doing that. Some of these things concocted, then later on, judges throw them out. You see, that type of culture or politics is somewhere in a third world. I don't expect. I have lived in the United Kingdom for almost 40 years. I have never seen the type of culture where people go for their opponents. Sunak, a man, a refugee himself by background, came here, did so many things in the UK, but people did not go to beat him, to kill him, do what? But the type of politics that is coming, that is coming in America, my professor, please look at it. The triggers of conflict are real. The triggers of conflict are real. Why? What did Harris say when Trump said about all these things? She also replied violently. So if I'm not, to be very honest, and you people in the studio, we better put us, if I am for this one or for that one, so that I release my words.
All right.
My words.
All right. Finally, before...
I need to make a statement here. I need to make a statement here. Well,
yes.
I think I'm going to stick to responding to your questions. I was only trying to support what he was saying, coming from a political communication point of view, but I think you completely did miss the point. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not even going to engage.
Let me just very quickly, because we're pretty much pressed for time, right? What is going to swing this election? You have looked at the stats, you've looked at the numbers, you have traveled, and you've done extensive work when it comes to polls, right? So I have to ask you, when anyone with untrained eyes looking at these elections and looking at the polls, they will say Trump is leading. But what would you say would swing it? What is the chance of it being swung?
Well, first of all, let me just say that words do matter. I'm a rhetorician. I'm a political communication person. And in the way that words inspire, words can also hurt. Words can divide. And the statistics, the research has shown that it does shape public opinion. It does shape people's values. It shapes people's actions. And if you do a content analysis of the rhetoric that has been used in this particular campaign, there has been an uptick of violent rhetoric. So I was just using that to support whatever point he was making. But so let me quickly just say that words do matter in elections. Beyond that, to your question about polls, we have to understand that polls are just a snapshot of an election. They are not a surefire predictor of an outcome of an election. And so that snapshot can change from time to time. And that's why in 2016, there was a problem that most people who did the polls had with their polling results as compared to what eventually happened. And so it's not a surefire indicator of whatever will happen on that day. So the polls are one thing, but what happens in reality is a totally different thing. It may give us an indication of what people think at a particular point in time, but we might not be able to account for it forever at every single point in time. If you look at the results that are even coming in, I wouldn't even put any sure bets on those results, right? Because it does change depending on the percentages in terms of the volume of results that are coming, and also in terms of where these results are coming from, especially in those swing states that are really, really, really close and are toss-ups. We have to really wait until we have a sizable proportion of these results coming in before making any permutations. And so that is the extent to which we can talk about the polls. There's also the margin of error. Most of the polls that have come in are well within the margin of error. And if it's within the margin of error, we cannot do a lot with it because then it means it's just way too close to call. And if you look at the swing state polls that are coming, that is really where they lie, within that margin of error.
All right, Professor Etsi Sikanku, University of Media Arts and Communication, and also Dr. David Matsanga, African Affairs, and I'm going to add Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much for joining us and dissecting this current situation going on right there in the United States of America. It's 2024, and most importantly, we'll also wait to see what the results would look like. And, I mean, fantastic analysis that we've heard, especially from these two gentlemen. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
really
so
appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga. We'll circle back. I know we'll talk to you again pretty soon. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. But remember, in one-day elections, tell the professor after killing Osama bin Laden.
No problem, Dr. Matsanga. We will do that. We'll talk about that later on. All right.
Thank you. God bless.
All right.
All right, it's been a lengthy one, most importantly, especially in the early hours of this morning. If you're tuned in and locked on to News Central Television, we'd like to get your feedback. Let us know what you think about the ongoing United States elections that's currently on. Tweet us, let us know. Share your thoughts and go ahead. You can find our social media handles right there on the screen. Tweet us, let's hear what you have to say about the ongoing elections and more.
Oh, yes, indeed. In the meantime, we'll come back at the top of the hour for more analysis, more in-depth analysis. We'll also be bringing you more live update from Washington, D.C. as our correspondent, Afia Egan, is on ground to give us the latest that is going on there. And also would have very in-depth analysis with our guest to give you live updates right here on The Ballot. Is all eyes are on the USA as they decide who will be the next president in the pivotal and historical election for the next 4 years. Don't go anywhere. This is The Ballot on News Central TV.